and our older friends. Yes, they're all going to be over here in our secret garden. Yeah, I don't know who's coming though, and I hope they come pretty soon. My goodness, look at all the hair. Hair you're losing. Gee, my goodness gracious. So much hair. You look so good today, Grace. Yeah, the sun's on you and stuff, and yeah. Hey! Hi! You came back! Look who's here! Yeah, they're all back, Grace. They're coming back to see us. Yeah! They're coming to see our secret garden. Well, it's so nice to have all you guys today. Yeah, I even brought Grace. It's such a nice sunny day that she wanted to see you. So here we are. And she's going to take a little nap, and I'm going to give you a little tour. But first of all, I'm going to take my mask off, okay, so we can hear me better. Ooh. And let's see, get in the shade just a little bit. It was really nice to have you, and I'm happy to have you in my backyard, because a lot of people don't know that I have a backyard. And I like to come out here, and I like to play in the flowers, and I like to come out here sometimes and just sit and be nice and quiet. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But meanwhile, that's the door that goes into my office. So, and I sit at my desk in my office. Remember I showed you my office a long time ago? This is the view that I get. So it's very calming, very serene, and very peaceful for me. So we always start off with our little song, right? Because that's an important song, because God has all of us in his hands. It doesn't matter what we look like, what color our skin is, how tall we are, how short we might be. Don't matter. God has us all in his hands, and he loves us all and wants us to love him as well. So we sing our song, he's got the whole world in his hands, and we always throw in some important people. And today I like it to say, when we sing, he's got Joe and David. And I asked Joe because Joe was 95 years old, a wonderful sweetheart man, and he just died. We're going to bury him here at the church on Friday. So we're going to pray for Joe today, that God gives him heaven. And I like to pray for another friend of ours, one of our brothers, David, who's in the hospital right now. He's quite sick, and right now as we speak, undergoing some very serious surgery. And Dave was a wonderful guy, because he would come and plow the snow for us all the time. Never have to call him. He would just show up in his truck, his red truck, and he would help plow the driveway, and never ask for a penny. Just happy to do it, because this is his church. So why don't we sing this morning, and then we'll go on our little tour. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got Joe and David in his hands. He's got Joe and David in his hands. He's got Joe and David in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. What a wonderful way to start. Okay, well, where shall we begin? I think since I'm right here, we should come right over here. And we have one of our saints that's in my back garden. And we talked about this guy before. Anybody remember his name? Who is it? That's right, St. Francis. We often see St. Francis in people's gardens, right? Because he was a great lover of all of God's creation. Everything that God made, he loved, and he always saw God in his creation. He saw God in people. He sees God in the plants and the flowers and the grass and the air that we breathe. He sees God everywhere. And so he's kind of the guy who watches over my garden when I'm not here. He just kind of watches over and maybe prays for us as we are all working and busy, until we have a time to relax and pray for ourselves. So there's St. Francis, and this is one of my little flower baskets. It did so well this year. I'm not sure if it was the rain that we had or the secret food that I give my plants in my secret garden. And of course, you know Grace, right? Right now she's sunbathing. She loves to sunbathe. Yesterday we went swimming at Mrs. Kulak's farm over on Baldwin. And Grace went in the water and swam a few laps. She had a ball. But she really stunk afterwards. Ooh! You know how dogs smell sometimes, but I love her just the same. So anyway, so that's my house. That's the back of the rectory, which so few people know is here. And these are some of my plants. These are my grasses. This is a zebra grass. You can see it has little lines on it, like a zebra has. See that little like white line? Almost like a little paintbrush marks, but it's quite beautiful, isn't it? And after a while, I almost have to tie it up because it gets so tall. But it's very colorful and very much alive. It's doing so well this year. Then over here, this is the walkway that leads to my back door and to my garage. That's where I keep my hose and my water and all the stuff that I need to keep this place up. And let's see. Flag's gotten a little used over the years, I guess. But here's my clematis. Now, the clematis has been here for probably 5 years, and it just does so well. It loves this spot, and those flowers will stay in bloom till the end of next month. So it's really a wonderful plant to have, and it comes back every year. It's a perennial, and so it comes back every year. And it gets bigger every year, and it's just very happy there. And I just love that color, huh? And it's so pretty how that has the four little wings, and so it's very nice. Just to look at that is a little meditation in itself. Over here, although it's finished right now, is my bleeding heart, and that makes a very pretty flower in the spring, and it looks like a little heart that has a little slice in it. So it's like a bleeding heart. And I often think it's nice to have those in our gardens because it reminds us of Jesus, huh? When he was on the cross, how his heart bled for us, right? Because he loved us so much, and all the pain that he endured because he loves you and he loves me. So my bleeding heart in the springtime reminds me of the story of Jesus and his great love for us. So as we continue, hey, we didn't say hi to Mrs. Goss yet. Hi, Mrs. Goss. She's a great photographer, that one. I have a little space in here, which you can probably... This is a little sunroom, and really I prefer to be on the outside rather than the inside, but it's pretty nice in here. And I can have a little dinner in here sometimes if I want. And I can just kind of sit in here at night because it has screens, so there's no mosquitoes. I'm sorry, I'm straightening up my drapes. And this is a nice little spot. This used to be Father Connery's favorite spot because he used to love his hot tub. And he used to have his hot tub right here in this room. And he would use that hot tub almost every day. He loved his hot tub. It was so good for his muscles. He said he always felt so much better when he came out of that hot tub. So here's another little secret place in the secret garden. If you look at the top, those are all sticks that I collected. And I thought they might look kind of neat up there because it kind of gives it that Adirondack feel, you know, the mountains and the trees and the sticks and all that stuff. So here it is, and you're welcome to come over anytime. Bring lunch, and we'll have lunch together. How's that sound? Right? Not until, of course, the pandemic is over, but anyway. So let's go back out. What a great day today, huh, Mrs. Goss?
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Just not too hot this morning, and my little chime. Gotta have chimes, right? So, over here, you know, this was about that high when I first got here 13, 14 years ago. That many years? I think so. And I keep cutting it back, but it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And it's actually a tree. And I don't know what kind of tree it is, but I don't want to cut it. And it's so pretty. And it's so wild. And there it is. It's been there for a long time. And those are my daylilies over there. Kind of an interesting color. They're not orange. You often see orange or yellow, but these are kind of on the burgundy side. So they're unusual, but they're lovely too. And they come up every year because they're perennials. And I have what I love. One of my favorite things is grasses. I just think that they're so delicate and they're so easy to care for. And like all perennials, it comes back every year and it gets bigger and bigger every year. But look at how graceful that is and how soft. You know, sometimes I pick them out and I cut them. And when I make some flower arrangements for my garden, I always throw a few of these in, you know. So I think Grace is looking for me. Yep, yep, yep. Hey, Grace. Okay. Very good. So continuing, now these here make like yellow, sort of like daisies, but they're bigger. They're a bigger flower, and this too comes up every year because it's a perennial, and it gets bigger and bigger. And sometimes I take cuts out of it, out of the roots, and I give it to different people, so they have a little bit of my garden in their garden. So they're going to be due pretty soon because there's the buds, and it's looking real healthy this year. It was pretty dry for a while, but then we had a lot of rain, so that kind of helped. So over here, I like to find stuff on the road. You know, when people put stuff out for their garbage, I go sometimes and I look. And I found that chair about 5 years ago. It's really worn out now, but I said, wouldn't that be pretty in my garden? And at the time, it was really pretty. Right now, it's kind of had it, but I hate to throw it away because it has a little certain something about it, you know, like it's been used, somebody sat there, somebody sat in the garden and maybe just felt the presence of Jesus. And that makes a nice little message for us. Then we got Blessed Mother. Somebody left me that, I don't know, a long time ago. They left it on my back porch because they didn't want it. So I said, well, she can live here as long as she wants. So there's her little spot. And her little flowers in front of her didn't do too good this year. I think not enough sun. My garden over here is very shady, so it's kind of a shady plant garden. So mostly hostas grow in here, and hostas are all over our property. And some years ago, I went and I cut a lot of them and put them in my garden because this wasn't here a few years ago. And look what they did. They just got so big and so pretty and just so delicate and, I don't know, easy to take care of and always green, almost like always happy. And what a reminder for us, huh, to be happy. And I got this piece. This is from my friends Lynn Kirsch and Neil Kirsch. And they had that in their front yard. This is a piece of driftwood. And every time I'd go by their house, he had like 3 or 4 of them. And I'd say, boy, that's awfully pretty. And one day he came with Neil, and they dropped it in my backyard. And I just think it's the best thing in the world. I look at this sometimes and I see different things. Like right now, as I'm looking at this, I almost see a face, somebody's eye, and there's their mouth. And it's just fun to look at. And it's just beautiful to see even an old stump can be beautiful. Huh? If we look at things with Jesus' eyes, everything is beautiful, you know, all made by God, and even in its old age, it's still beautiful. Piece of work, piece of art. Then I have a swan, and the swan shouldn't have water in it. Why? Because maybe mosquitoes would live there, so I have to empty that out. But the swan belonged to one of our parishioners who went to heaven, and her husband gave me the swan after she died. Her name was Pat. And then over here I have two egrets. They're hard to see because they're so rusted out now. I've had these for, probably 20 years. And they were given to me by my brothers and sisters one year for Christmas. And they know I like stuff on the outside of my house. And so I have these two egrets. I call them Peter and Paul. And you can see Paul's getting kind of rusted out. But I still think they're pretty, because they kind of match the landscape. And as broken as they are, they're still beautiful. And a lesson for us, sometimes as broken as we are, we're still beautiful. Even if we're old, even if things aren't working so well anymore, we're still beautiful because we're made in the image of Jesus. And he loves us always. So there you go. Then there's a nice rock there that I used to love, but now it's kind of gotten hidden because everything's grown so much. So it might be time next year to kind of do a little bit of change in here. Maybe cut the hostas back. And then over there's a nice cross made out of pottery. And that was made by one of our parishioners, Mr. Sankowski, who is no longer with us, but his wife, Marianne, is with us. And I hope she's watching because I think she'd love to see that in my garden. I was so grateful when she gave that to me. So it reminds me of him, and we should always have a cross around, in the house, outside. Always a cross that reminds us of Jesus, right? It's all about Jesus. And you see all my ferns. Now, I took the ferns from out in the woods a number of years ago, and I just had a few of them. And look at how they multiplied, and they're happy. They're nice and big. You can't even see my big piece of driftwood back there because they kind of took over. And this is another hosta that's quite unusual. Look at the size of this leaf. It's almost like a cup, like filling up with water. It's just such a pretty plant, and it makes a nice white flower. I'm not sure you can see that. Can you see that, Mrs. Goss? A nice white flower. And it has a different color in the garden. It's blue as opposed to everything being green, so it really sticks out. And again, healthy as a horse, right? It's always coming up. And this is a little bird bath. I have a bigger one in the middle, but this one was on somebody's front lawn that they were throwing away, Julie Ashcroft. I happened to go by and I saw it and I said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna take that for my garden. But maybe that shouldn't have water in it either, just the main one. So that's that. And then we go around, and this tree, look at the size of that tree. That tree was given to us by John and Karen Kulak from Kulak's Nursery. They take care of our property for us sometimes. If you saw the front of the church, the sign area, they do that every year for us. It looks beautiful. But he gave me that tree, and I'm trying to think why. There was a reason. Oh, his father died. And in memory of his father. And that tree was only this high. And that wasn't all that long ago. So it really grew fast, and it's growing right up to heaven. I think pretty soon I'll be able to climb it and go to heaven. Wouldn't that be something? So, there's grapes. And then has just some other stuff in there. Nothing to note, but everything beautiful. I used to have tomato plants, but got lazy. But here's my little favorite spot too. And that's, I can watch the birds from my office. They like to drink from there and splash around. I have a pair of mourning doves, and they're always here, and they're so beautiful together. They're always together, and they sit on the end of it, and they can stay there for an hour. It's so pretty to watch them. And I got some little flowers in there. This is an interesting piece too. This piece of pottery was a nice big pot, about this high, very old, and it belonged to Pedrick's Florist. And I got to be friendly with the Pedrick's Florist people because they belonged to our church many years ago. Now they're closed. But one day I went in there and I said to Nancy, I said, you know, that is a beautiful vase. I said, could I borrow it for church someday? Because that's the same color as the floor in our church. And she said, certainly you can. So I took it home, and she told me it was about 100 years old. And I put it in the church, and she told me afterwards, why don't you keep it? You keep it for you. And so we had it in the church for years, until about 2 years ago, at Easter time, I put it out in the front of the church with some forsythia. You know that yellow flower we see in the spring? I had a big, big bunch of it. And it looked so pretty in front of the church when people were coming in for Mass. But the winds came, and lo and behold, it knocked it over, and it broke it into all kinds of pieces. But still, it was salvageable, and it was beautiful. And look at how it works in my garden. It's not all there, but it still makes a nice statement and looks beautiful, doesn't it? So there it is. That's a piece of Nancy's pottery, and I still have it, and I love it dearly. So I'm going to sit down for a second. Mrs. Goss, why don't you sit down? And, you know, since we're talking about nature and all God's gifts, there was a book that was put out. It's called an encyclical, which means it's a writing of the Pope. And Pope Francis wrote a book not long ago entitled Laudato Si, means in care of the whole universe. And it says the gift from our common gift, that is our gift from God, the gift of nature. And I'm seeing a little sign here. I didn't know that, Tom. It's Jason Jeffers' birthday today, and he's 9? Oh my gosh, happy birthday, Jason. Is he watching, you think? Hey, buddy. Oh, what a great day. Happy birthday. Good for you. Wonderful day to celebrate. So anyway, we have this from the Holy Father, our Holy Father Francis, and it's about our common gift, and that's the gift of nature. And in his encyclical, he tells us that we're all responsible for nature, that we have to care for what God has given us. And we know sometimes that we're very careless, huh? How we throw things around and papers on the street. So maybe today's lesson could be that we want to take care of the earth. And maybe you could go out and maybe find a flower that you could care for, give some water to, or next year maybe make your own little garden. But when I'm out here, it's very quiet, very peaceful, no telephones, nobody coming to the door to see me, and I can just be by myself. And that's important sometimes, to be by ourselves, because we can kind of commune with God and his gift of nature. So I would like to conclude. We went pretty long today, Mrs. Goss, didn't we? No? Okay, I'd like to conclude with a prayer. It comes from the Bible. It comes from the book of Daniel, and it's usually entitled The Three Young Men. And their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, those are tough names. You'd never know how to say those names. But from the book of Daniel, and these three young Jewish boys were brought in front of the king, King Nebuchadnezzar. And the king said to them, I want you to bow down and pray to my golden god, my golden calf. And the three boys said, no, we have one God, and that's God in heaven. And so the king got very angry with them, and he threw them into a big fire pit. It was the biggest fire pit in the world. Throwing somebody in there, they would have burned up in a minute. But the king kept looking, and he saw the boys in the middle of the fire, kind of dancing around, happy, singing. And then he saw a fourth image. And he realized at that point that it was God, that God was in the fire with them. And their God, the God that they loved, is the true God, and that's the God who saved them. But this is what the three young men in the fire, this is what they say. Bless the Lord, all you works of the Lord. Praise and exalt him above all forever. Angels of the Lord, bless the Lord. You heavens, bless the Lord. All you waters above the heavens, bless the Lord. All you hosts of the Lord, bless the Lord. Sun and moon, bless the Lord. Stars of heaven, bless the Lord. Every shower and every dew, bless the Lord. All you winds, bless the Lord. Fire and heat, bless the Lord. Cold and chill, bless the Lord. Dew and rain, bless the Lord. Frost and cold, bless the Lord. Ice and snow, bless the Lord. Nights and days, bless the Lord. Light and darkness, bless the Lord. Lightnings and clouds, bless the Lord. Let the earth bless the Lord. Praise and exalt him above all forever. Mountains and hills, bless the Lord. Everything from the earth, bless the Lord. You springs, bless the Lord. Seas and rivers, bless the Lord. You dolphins and all water creatures, bless the Lord. All you birds of the air, bless the Lord. All you beasts, wild and tame, bless the Lord. Praise and exalt him above all forever. You sons of men, bless the Lord. O Israel, bless the Lord. Priests of the Lord, bless the Lord. Servants of the Lord, bless the Lord. Spirits and souls of the just, bless the Lord. Holy people of humble heart, bless the Lord. Ananias, Azarias, Misael, bless the Lord. Praise and exalt him above all forever. Let us bless the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Let us praise and exalt God above all forever. And blessed are you in the firmament of heaven, praiseworthy and glorious forever. Isn't that beautiful? So all things, all people, everything, bless God. Thank God for all our gifts. So, that's it from the Secret Garden. If you're ever in town, you want to see it in person, you're most welcome. So till next time, I'll see you. Be well. Know that God loves you. And know that I love you too. And again, happy birthday, Jason. Bye.